Hey everyone, ready to dive into some seriously cool stuff for coding interviews? We're cracking open the bulletproof formula for solving any coding question today.
Ooh, a bulletproof formula. I like the sound of that.
Right, and the best part is, this isn't about memorizing a bunch of algorithms.
Yeah, this can be a pain.
It's all about changing how you think about coding problems. Becoming like a problem-solving ninja.
I'm all for that. Count me in.
So, get this. The first thing they hit you with is starting with a brute force solution.
Now, hold on. Isn't the goal to be elegant, efficient? Why would we start with something that's, well, kind of clunky?
I know, right? That's exactly what I thought too at first, but they make this super compelling argument for why it works.
Okay, I'm listening.
So first off, just having any working solution, even a simple one, is way better than nothing, especially in an interview.
True. Shows you can at least get started.
But here's the real kicker. Those brute force solutions, they're like a roadmap to optimizing your code.
How so?
They highlight exactly where your logic is slowing things down, the bottlenecks.
Ah, so by seeing where the brute force method struggles, you can then pinpoint the areas that need a more efficient data structure or a slicker algorithm.
Exactly. And the article uses that classic two-sum problem as an example.
Oh, yeah, where you're given an array and got to find the two numbers that add up to a target.
Exactly. So the brute force way is like checking every single pair of numbers, which, yeah, it works, but it's not pretty.
It's like using a hammer when you really need a scalpel.
And once you see that brute force playing out, it's so obvious that all those repeated checks are killing your efficiency.
And that's where something like a hash table comes in to save the day, right?
Boom, you got it. But here's the thing. You might not have even thought about that elegant hash table solution if you hadn't walked through the clunky brute force one first.
It's like you're training your intuition to spot those optimization opportunities.
Right. You're basically leveling up your coding instincts alongside your actual coding skills.
I like it.
And that takes us to their next big strategy, simplification.
Ah, music to my ears. Nothing like breaking down a huge problem into bite-sized pieces.
Right. Makes total sense, but it's so easy to jump into the deep end right away.
Oh, for sure. Especially when you're staring at some crazy complex code challenge.
Totally. But this article's like, hold up, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
They want you to start by minimizing everything.
Minimize meaning.
Strip away any extra variables, any weird constraints, make it as basic as possible.
Yeah, kind of like finding the bare bones structure of the problem, yeah.
Exactly. Get rid of all the bells and whistles so you can really see what's going on.
Makes sense.
And then, get this, they want you to look at those special cases, those edge scenarios.
Interesting. Why those specifically?
Because sometimes those weird edge cases, they can expose hidden patterns or reveal some quirk about the problem you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
So it's like poking around at the edges to see if anything unexpected happens.
Exactly. It's like a stress test for your understanding of the problem.
I like that analogy. You either confirm what you thought you knew, or you uncover something totally new.
And then once you've messed around with those simplified versions, you slowly start adding back complexity.
Building up your solution brick by brick, rather than trying to sculpt the whole thing from a giant block.
Right. And they illustrate it with this really cool example. Ready for it? Arranging fruits.
Fruits! Now you've got my attention.
All right. So imagine you've got a basket of different kinds of fruit. You got to arrange them in a line so that no two of the same type are next to each other.
Sounds deceptively simple.
Right. But they're like, don't even think about a dozen different fruits right away.
Start smaller.
Way smaller.
Yeah.
Start with one type of fruit, then try two types, then maybe three.
I see where they're going with this. By slowly ramping up the complexity, you force yourself to see the pattern, the underlying rule that works no matter how many types of fruit you're dealing with.
Exactly. You're not bogged down by thinking about apples and oranges and bananas.
You're finding the solution that works for any fruit basket you throw at it.
Okay, are you ready for the third part of their formula? This one really surprised me.
Hit me with it.
Pen and paper.
Wait, seriously. In the age of fancy IDEs and online compilers, they're suggesting we go old school.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But their argument is that physically writing things down, especially for those simplified versions of the problem, it just makes your brain work differently.
Interesting. Like it forces you to slow down, be more intentional.
Exactly. And they argue that you're more likely to spot patterns or even errors that you might miss if you're just staring at a screen.
It's like switching from thinking fast to thinking slow, right?
Yeah.
You're less caught up in the syntax and the details and more focused on the bigger picture logic.
It's like you're decluttering your mental workspace, giving your brain some breathing room to actually see the problem clearly.
I can see that, yeah, when you're not worried about typos and semicolons, you can focus on the pure logic of it all.
And get this, they even said that writing things out can help you catch errors before you've even written any code.
Really? Like preemptive debugging.
Exactly. It's like your brain's doing a dry run, spotting those potential pitfalls before they trip you up in the code.
I like it. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most powerful tool we have as programmers is our own ability to just think things through.
Totally. So to sum up this bulletproof formula we've got, embracing the simplicity of brute force, breaking down those complex problems through simplification, and then getting our hands dirty with some good old-fashioned pen and paper.
And the beauty of it is it's not like a rigid set of rules. It's more like a flexible mindset.
Right. It's about knowing which tool to use for the job, adapting to whatever problem you're facing.
And like any skill, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes.
For sure. You start internalizing these principles, and they become part of how you approach any coding challenge.
You're not just coding anymore. You're thinking like a problem solver, an engineer.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's not just about acing those interviews. It's about becoming a better, more confident coder overall.
Absolutely.
Now, for all you listeners out there, we want to leave you with a little something to think about. Think back to a coding problem that really stumped you. Got it. Now imagine tackling it again, but this time armed with the bulletproof formula. Start with that brute force solution, break it down, grab a pen and paper, and see what happens. You might be surprised at what you discover. Until next time, happy coding.